It is Monday, June 9th at around 5:30 a.m. and today's a big day for me because I finally get to do the debris removal of my house that burned down in January in the Los Angeles wildfires. I'm meeting with the Army Corps. They should be here in a couple hours. They're the ones handling the whole debris removal process. We're going to do a walk through the property, decide what's staying, what's going, things like retaining walls and trees, that sort of thing. You can see that they've actually already done the debris removal for some of my neighbors. It's nice and flat there, looks pretty good. My house still partially standing. That is an energy drink can. That's definitely mine. But you know, it's been a long time since there's been any major update with the house. It's been pretty quiet. This feels like a big step forward, and I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. I think mostly just because over the last few months, I've just had this recurring thought that all this stuff has just been sitting here, exposed to the elements, in the sun, in the rain, the wind, just decaying. And I think that the debris removal, wiping everything clean, just having a clean slate will feel like giving this house a proper burial. I just feel like it's time, you know? Enough time's passed and this disaster deserves to be put to rest.
Before we continue, thanks to TripleTen for sponsoring today's video. You ever stop and think, with all the tech videos you've been watching, that maybe it's time to go from watching to actually doing? Seriously, if you've ever caught yourself researching specs for fun, comparing GPUs at 2 a.m., or explaining draw distance to your console gamer friends, you're already halfway there. So why not take it further? Now maybe you're thinking it's too late, or I don't have the money or background to make that kind of change. But what if I told you there's a way to start learning real in-demand tech skills without quitting your job or taking on a ton of debt? That's where today's sponsor TripleTen comes in. They offer beginner-friendly, flexible online boot camps that help people transition into tech, no experience required. 82% of their grads land jobs in tech within 6 months, and if it takes longer than 10 months, you get your money back, so there's nothing to lose. With real projects from real companies and unlimited externships even after graduation, you won't just learn, you'll do. Say goodbye to layoffs and hello to skills that last, because TripleTen teaches how to adapt AI into your work as well, making you a specialist with an advantage. Ready to change your life? Try a career consultation and build a future you can believe in. Learn a new job starting from $200 a month, and click the link in the description or scan the QR code for more information.
No mail. I got here extra early to watch the sunrise, but it's a little foggy for that. I also think it's funny that I used to complain how if it wasn't for my neighbors' houses in the way, I'd have a great view of Los Angeles County. Careful what you wish for. They have arrived. All right, let's do this. All right, I just finished doing the 360 walk around with the Army Corps, and actually it wasn't just the Army Corps. Apparently this whole operation is handled by several different organizations. The Army Corps, for one, being the federal agency, they're leading the operation. But then you also have the ECC, who does all of the on-site supervising. They're responsible for quality control. They've hired Odin, which I believe are the contractors. And then you have Tetra Tech, which is the liaison between all of those organizations and the property owners. But we did the walk around together, and they explained to me what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. So what they're allowed to do is remove all of the debris that's within the home's perimeter. So everything within that line, all the way around the house, is free game. Everything outside of that line, they pretty much can't touch, and I'll have to get an independent contractor if I want to remove anything outside of that area. They said it's going to take them about a day and a half, which is not bad at all. It's a lot faster than I was expecting. They actually went back to another site that they were working on that they have to finish up before coming back here in a couple hours, so I'm going to wait out for them. But as we were doing the walk around, they asked me if I had any special requests. Some people want to keep certain brick areas, certain walls, or trees. They want to keep their trees. I was like, take everything. Everything here sucks. It's all damaged goods. The trees have always been a nuisance. I have 10 trees on my property, and they've all kind of been a nuisance to me. Like, they shed. I got a lot of shedders. You can see all the pine needles on the driveway. The only tree I really liked was the lemon tree in the backyard, but it hasn't been bearing much fruit lately, so they can probably cut that one from the team as well. So, yeah, I just, you know, I said, I do have one request, and they go, what? I said, make it pop. I didn't say that. That would have been good, though. Going to town right now. He's been at it for a couple hours, just a couple hours, and they've already taken down a good majority of the house. There is the retaining wall that they were initially going to leave up because apparently they're not allowed to take it down unless it gets damaged in the process of removing other parts of the property. But I was hoping that they would take it down because it was never built properly years ago, long before I bought this house. It is not waterproof at all, so after heavy rainfall, water would seep in through that retaining wall and actually come onto the other side. The wall paint on the inside of the house started to bubble up really badly to the point where I started getting quotes on fixing it, and it was to the tune of $20,000, $25,000 to fix. So it's really in my best interest if they remove that wall. One of them actually did me a solid and contacted some authority figure at the Army Corps, and it looks like they're willing to do it, which I'm very happy about because it is probably going to save me a lot of money in the long run. They're gonna work for another hour, hour and a half until their shift is up for the day, and then they're gonna come back tomorrow to finish the job. All right, it's day 2, 7 a.m. I'm pretty pumped that this is the day that everything goes away. I'm meeting up with the crew. They're actually probably getting there right now. I told them to go ahead and start work without me. I don't know what their morning ritual is or anything like that, but let's see if we can start their day off right. I thought that they were already going to be working on the property by the time I got here and that I was going to miss a bunch of stuff. Turns out that they're waiting on the dump truck before they actually start firing up the excavator. Makes sense. And as it turns out, the dump truck just arrived on site, so we're going to get started here in just a minute. So I've been learning a bit about the debris removal process, talking to the contractors, and it's actually pretty specific how they do it. All the debris for these houses gets divided into 3 separate piles: metal, concrete, and ash. The metal and concrete are going to a nearby golf course where they've actually set up a processing plant. I believe a lot of that gets recycled in some way, at least the metal. But the ash goes straight to a landfill. And before they actually start filling up these truck beds with ash, they have to line them with a large plastic tarp. That way when the truck bed's full, they can tie up the tarp so that it's essentially a giant trash bag of ash, and that's what gets buried in the landfill. Watching this excavator at work has been pretty awesome. The operator, Bruce, you'll see him occasionally switch the buckets that he uses. There's different buckets for different tasks. Some are better at digging, some are better at grading, kind of flattening out the landscaping. But you can easily see how dexterous he is with this thing and how he's able to effortlessly switch between buckets in a couple seconds. It's pretty impressive. So they just busted out a huge saw, and they are currently cutting a line between the concrete pad in my house and the part that extends out into the backyard. They want to remove the concrete in my house without damaging the concrete in the back, so they're cutting a line to make that separation much cleaner. It's very thoughtful of them. They're finally removing the footers. Those giant pieces of concrete. They look like logs. They're like flat logs, and they go around the entire perimeter of the home, sometimes along the crossways as well. They're essentially the platform that the entire house is built on, including all of the walls. I knew they were going to be big. I didn't think they'd be this big. What the hell, dude? Oh my god. Look who I just found across the street from my place, everybody. It's Bob. Let's get some lunch, yeah?
Sounds good to me. I'm starving.
It's Bob. You guys remember him? We did the charity stream for him. You guys helped raise a lot of money for him. You just stopped by to check out your house, which is already cleared. How did the debris removal process go for you?
It was pretty simple. It only took 2 days. I mean, they worked from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Everything was pretty smooth, but the guy that ran the excavator, you know, being a guy and liking tractors and trucks since you were a little kid, I was just fascinating watching this guy work this excavator and how he's such a pro at it.
Yeah.
And so when they sat down to eat the pizza, I was just all over him with questions like what's the most dangerous thing you've ever done, or what's the scariest thing you've ever seen, or
I gotta steal some of your questions because I was asking my excavator guy today. I was like, is it fun? That's like the only thing I asked. But he was like, yeah, it is fun. One thing he did say is that when he used to do like concrete and just be out in the sun, just, you know, it was more laborious physically, and he would see guys on the machines like the excavator, and he would go, must be nice just sitting down all day. But then he realized that operating the excavator comes with its own form of mental exhaustion. Because you're operating this giant piece of machinery, it's extremely dangerous. You have so much more responsibility. You could knock something over, kill a person while you're operating that arm. And he's like, you have to be completely locked in and engaged and focused the entire time. And when you're doing that for 10 hours sometimes in a row, you just come home and you're completely wiped out. So it really is just, you know, a different form of hard work. This has been fascinating to me because I've learned like how a house is built, particularly one on a slab, because that's what mine is. And it's been really cool to actually not just learn about it, but see it as it's happening, as it's being demoed, to really get a feel for how the house is built.
Yeah, the footings are so huge.
They
I
are.
mean, to think that much concrete is underground.
Right.
And I came close to asking him if I could take a turn. You know?
I had that same thought.
Let's not piss him off.
Yeah. Also, I don't want to be in prison for the rest of my life after I inevitably kill someone with that thing. How did it feel when it was finally done? When everything was finally cleared and it was just a pile of dirt?
Yeah, you know, the problem is it took me going up there like 10, 12 times to be able to go up there and not cry.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking just to think of all. I mean, I know it's just stuff, but I had a lot of good times up there, friends and relatives and parties and get-togethers. And
I mean, it's absolutely true. It's like, it's not so much that like the stuff by itself has no meaning. It's like the memories that you make with the stuff or in the place that turn these inanimate objects into meaningful things. So my debris removal process has been going very smoothly, relatively uninterrupted. But if there's one thing that could bring this entire operation to a crawling halt, it's the birds. Specifically, if it's a breed that's native to the state, it's technically protected under state and federal law. So one of the guys asked me if there were any birds' nests on my property, and I was like, no. And he was like, okay, well then we can start work. Otherwise, we would have to bring in a biologist, and they would have to assess the situation. Fortunately, there's no bird's nest on my property, but there is one on my neighbor's. So they had a biologist swing by, and she spotted, I think there's 2 chicks. I think she spotted 2 chicks in there. And right now, she's sitting in my front yard, just in a chair, monitoring this nest for the rest of the entire day. Just so that in the event that the chicks cross over into my yard, she can blow a whistle or whatever the hell and cease production, just halt all work until she can, you know, I don't know, relocate them or whatever she has to do. But I support it. I think it's cool, you know, save the birds and all that. I'm all for it. I'm just glad there are no birds on my property. All right, day 2 is a wrap. We did not finish like we thought we would, but we're close. Overall, everything's good. Everyone's doing great. Apparently, I was talking to some of the guys, apparently natural disasters are like the most sought after gig in this field because the pay is incredibly good. They dropped some numbers. It's insanely good pay, but that's not to say the pay is not warranted. These guys work extremely long hours. We're talking 12-hour days. And they don't get a day off. They work 7 days a week. The only days they get off are national holidays. I think they got Memorial Day off and they're getting 4th of July off. which we all agreed is bullshit. They should get July 4th and 5th off, because you need a hangover day, obviously. But overall, day 2 was a wild success. Looking forward to day 3. So I literally just showed up on site. I was a little bit late today, maybe about 20, 30 minutes late, and I barely caught the tail end of them taking down the retaining wall. Bruce made very quick work of it with that excavator, just pulling every brick down, and it looks like all the dirt behind the wall is staying in place, so that's good. All right, we just had a rep from OSHA swing by. I wasn't expecting that. I don't think the crew was either, but she was just checking in to make sure everyone was in compliance, that things were being done by the book, which they in fact are. She was able to verify that pretty quickly and went on her way. It's also good that the crew gave me this hat right before she got here, because I definitely look like someone who would hurt themselves on a construction site. All right, we're getting some pizza pies. I'm picking up some pizza for the bros, because I haven't really seen them take any lunch breaks this entire week. For the most part, they just work throughout the entire day. And the other thing that I thought was pretty interesting is that none of them are allowed to go on camera for any kind of interviews. Media, press, whatever, they're not allowed to come on camera, but one of them, and I'm sure he speaks on behalf of the whole group here, wanted me to let all of their loved ones at home know that these guys love and miss you all very much, and they can't wait to see you, because again, a lot of these guys are from far away, far from home, thousands of miles away, a lot of them across state lines, and I'm sure it's been very difficult for all of them to be gone from home this long. Some of them since this project started many, many months ago. On that note, pizza. Just a quick little update, the excavator is continuing its work on removing all the concrete from the property. It's a pretty repetitive process at this point, just a matter of unearthing all of that hard material and breaking up the larger pieces into smaller pieces. There is a lot of concrete here though, so he's probably going to continue this process for a couple more hours, and at that point we should be pretty close to the finish line. So they just busted out the big saw again and cut a straight line all the way across my driveway. Now they're using the skid steer, which is the smaller vehicle that you see here, to remove the concrete from that edge and leave it nice and clean. It'll be perfectly smooth when it's all said and done. Gotta hand it to Ian. He's the one who's been operating the saw and the skid steer. It's just amazing to me how you can watch these guys completely wreck the place and leave things in pieces one moment, and then watch them make these perfectly precise straight lines in the next. All right, the house is gone. The house is gone. It feels a little sad. It felt a little sad, this whole process, just seeing your house just get ripped to shreds even more, and the place that you made a bunch of cool memories in just gets dumped in the truck and then it rolls down the street. It's kind of a bummer, but overall it does feel good to finally get this part of the process behind me so that I can finally move on to the next steps, which would be to rebuild, and that's really exciting. I want to say a huge shout out and thank you to the crew for all of their hard work this week and for getting me to this point. Never thought I'd say this, but thank you for deleting my house. It was a corrupted file anyway. I'm left now with this big empty lot. I feel like this property just it's just a metaphor for my life. It was in shambles, and now a blank slate. A chance to start over, it feels pretty good. It does feel good. A little scary because I'm like, oh shit, what do I do now? What's next? But I think with that comes a lot of possibilities on how I choose to rebuild, not just my house, but this next chapter of my life. And that's got me pretty stoked. So yeah, there's flies everywhere. I gotta get the hell out of here. Guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate all the love and support. I really do. I hope you're all well. I will keep you updated with more stuff as it comes up. And until next time, I'll see you soon.